Good morning. We light a chalice, which is virtual today. We light this chalice, symbol of our faith alive in this world, naming our vision of collective liberation and daring to remember each other into beloved community. And thank you, Lyra. Our gathering song this morning is number 108, My Life Flows On. The words will be copied in the chat screen. Please keep your mics muted and simply sing along at home if you would like.
I hear the real roar of him that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me grows? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm could shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging, since love prevails in heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? Through prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Thank you so much. Good morning. My name is Randall, and I'm visiting you today from the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, or UUSC. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm here today with my UUSC colleague, Heather Vickery. Heather's pronouns are also she, her, hers. We are speaking to you today from the land that is the traditional territories of the Indigenous Massachusetts, Pawtucket, and Wampanoag people. And we are delighted to be virtually joining First Unitarian Church of Des Moines this morning, which is on the land of the Iowa people. Whenever you hear a land acknowledgement, please consider donating $1 or more to support Indigenous organizations or Indigenous-led grassroots change movements and campaigns, and encourage others to do the same. Louise Alcorn is today's celebrant. Bruce Martin is our pianist, Barb Martin is our song leader, and Jean McCracken is the pastoral care associate for this week. Lyra Halston is our membership coordinator, and she's here with us. And if you'd like to be connected to our online groups or would like additional information about First Unitarian, please contact her through the membership email address, which will be in the chat. Please keep your microphones muted during the entire service. And after service, everyone is welcome to turn your microphone on and join us in the coffee hour breakup rooms. Hope to see you there.
Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. I'm Louise Alcorn. My pronouns are she, her, hers. No matter who you are or where you've come from, you're welcome here, whether or not you live in Des Moines or have ever physically been to First Unitarian. Whoever you are, we hope that here you find thoughts which challenge you, welcome which invites you into community, and people to accompany you as you journey.
Hello. Today I want to tell you a story about how the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, or UUSC, began. It all started over 80 years ago when Unitarians in the United States were watching what was happening in Europe, and they were getting very worried. They were worried because a man named Hitler and the people he was leading, called the Nazis, were becoming very powerful and hurting a lot of people. The Nazis believed some very mean and wrong things. They believed the only people who were any good were people who were just like them. They wanted everyone to be the same as they were, and if you weren't, well, they would kick you out of your house, they would take all of your things, they wouldn't let you work, and eventually, they started killing people who they thought were different from them. Jewish people, gay people, people with disabilities, all of them were targets of the Nazis during this time. It was very scary. What do you think you would do if you saw something like this happening? Would you want to help? Would people in your UU community want to help too? It was the same over 80 years ago. The Unitarians wanted to help people in Europe who were being targeted by the Nazis. So, a Unitarian minister and his wife from Wellesley, Massachusetts, Waitstill and Martha Sharp, went to Europe to see how they could help people there. They found lots of ways to help when they got there, but they had to be creative because the Nazis were always watching, and it would be dangerous if they got caught. The Sharps helped get the paperwork people needed to escape to safer places. Sometimes they would even sneak people past guards wearing disguises. They also helped people, including kids like you, get food and clothing in a time when it was very hard to find both. The Sharps were very brave, but they didn't do this work alone. They worked with people in the Jewish communities in Europe. They worked with the other Unitarians in the United States who sent them money and other supplies so more people could be helped. That is how the Unitarian Service Committee, now called UUSC, got started. Today, UUSC still works around the world to help people who are being treated badly find safety and have their human rights respected. We work with migrant communities who fled their homes in Central America and are seeking asylum in the United States. We work with Rohingya Muslims in Burma who are facing inhumane treatment and displacement by their government. We work with people around the world whose home communities are threatened by climate change, and many more. Both back then and today, UUs come together through the UU Service Committee to work with people who need it most. And we will continue to be there to help in the future, because Unitarian Universalists believe in doing what we can to make the world a better and safer place for everyone. Thank you for the ways you help us do this work. We couldn't do it without everyone joining together. Thank you for listening to this story.
Thank you, Laura. I didn't know that piece of history. That's very cool. Now's the time for our offertory, and in the spirit of Amy, I, of course, will bring a great deal of gravity to this moment. So, the strong man at the circus squeezed the juice from a lemon between his hands. Got pretty much dried it out. He then said to the audience, "I will offer $200 to anyone in the audience who can squeeze another drop from this lemon." A thin, elderly, upright woman came forward, picked up the lemon in her arthritic hands, strained hard, and managed to get a drop. The strong man was amazed. Nobody had done this before. He paid the woman and asked, "What is the secret of your strength?" "Practice," the woman answered. "I was the head of stewardship at my UU church for 32 years. The morning offering will now be given and received through the link in the chat. Half of this electronic plate goes to the internal social justice programs of the church, and half to our current faith and action partners, Planned Parenthood and Central Iowa Immigrant Support Coalition. The new partners start in September. I know somebody had a question about that. So. As we begin to think about coming back together in person, we are reminded that church is not the building, but a community. As a community of human hands and human hearts, we come together to share our laughter and our tears, and to bear witness and minister to one another as we struggle with life's sorrows and celebrate life's joys. I do have a joy to share this week. Steve Herwig has shared that his mother, Joyce Hillestad, celebrated her 98th birthday yesterday. which is remarkable. That's awesome. Let us share together now the names of anyone we know who could use some special care and attention. As we type their names into the chat, may the love of our community hold them all. May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. I'm thinking in particular about Europe, where there has been terrible and deadly flooding, and the Western US, where there has been terrible and deadly fires. May the work of our hands and hearts support, aid, and comfort all those who hunger or thirst for food or water, justice or freedom. May we never look away when we are needed. May those who are grieving be comforted. May those who are tired find rest. May the broken places be healed. May those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant. And if Lyra will help me, together we light 3 candles. One for the joys and sorrows we have shared. One for the names we have written. And one last candle for all of the joys and all of the sorrows, which are deeply held, but remain unspoken here today.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul.
Our first reading today is Vahavta by Aurora Levins Morales. I have put a link to the full piece in the chat. Say these words when you lie down and when you rise up, when you go out and when you return. In times of mourning and in times of joy, inscribe them on your doorposts, embroider them on your garments, tattoo them on your shoulders. Teach them to your children, your neighbors, your enemies. Recite them in your sleep, here in the cruel shadow of empire. Another world is possible. Thus spoke the prophet Roque Dalton. Altogether we have more death than we, but altogether we have more life than they. There is more bloody death in their hands than we could ever wield unless we lay down our souls to become them, and then we will lose everything. So instead, imagine winning. This is your sacred task. This is your power. Imagine every detail of winning, the exact smell of the summer streets in which no one has been shot, the muscles you have never unclenched from worry, gone soft as newborn skin, the sparkling taste of food when we know that no one on earth is hungry, that the beggars are fed, that the old man under the bridge and the woman wrapping herself in thin sheets in the backseat of a car, and the children who suck on stones nest under a flock of roofs that keep multiplying their shelter. Lean with all your being towards that day when the poor of the world shake down a rain of good fortune out of the heavy clouds and justice rolls down like waters. Defend the world in which we win as if it were your child. It is your child. Defend it as if it were your lover. It is your lover. When you inhale and when you exhale, breathe the possibility of another world into the 37.2 trillion cells of your body until it shines with hope. Then imagine more. Imagine rape is unimaginable. Imagine war is a scarcely credible rumor. But the crimes of our age, the grotesque inhumanities of greed, the sheer and astounding shamelessness of it, the vast fortunes made by stealing lives, the horrible normalcy it came to have, is unimaginable to our heirs, the generation of the free. Don't waver. Don't let despair sink its sharp teeth into the throat with which you sing. Escalate your dreams. Make them burn so fiercely that you can follow them down any dark alleyway of history and not lose your way. Make them burn clear as a starry drinking gourd over the grim fog of exhaustion, and keep walking. Hold hands, share water, keep imagining, so that we and the children of our children's children may live. Now there will be a moment of meditative music.
Thank you so much, Louise and Bruce. That is one of my favorite poems, and talking about another possible world fits in so well with our service today, because we're going to be talking about imagination and justice, which leads us to our next reading, which is actually not a reading, but an excerpt from an interview with Adrienne Marie Brown, an activist and author, probably most famously for the book Emergent Strategy, which delves into the life-giving possibilities of imagination and justice work and getting to that other possible world.
Emergent strategies are ways of looking at the world, the natural world that we're a part of, and searching for collaborative efforts. Like, where does collaboration happen? Where is right relationship happening between humans and the planet, between different parts of the planet? And what can we as a species learn about how to be in right relationship with each other and with the planet that we're living on? So emergent strategy is really life moves towards life, longing moves towards longing. And if we're not also organized towards what we really want and what we long for, we will always settle into just reacting and trying to stop something bad from happening. One of my favorite examples right now from the sort of the world of nature has been in this flooding that's been happening with the hurricanes, watching how ants have come together to survive, and they basically create a foundation of their own bodies, like a bottom layer of their own bodies, that then other ants climb on top of until they create this floating mound that then is able to make sure that the majority of them survive until they come across something that is a higher ground. Right now, we are drowning in the overwhelm of this political moment and the overwhelm of hard decisions. How do we reach out and hold on to each other, knowing that holding on to each other makes us a more stable body that can actually float and not pushing each other down, not pushing each other under. One of my favorite examples in the human world is actually the work of Black Lives Matter and the movement for Black Lives, and feeling like this was emergent. It's not like someone sat down at a table and was like, I've got it all figured out. I know how we're going to catalyze Black people into their liberation fight and taking direct action right now. That's not what happened. There was just a heartbreak. It really, to me, it grows out of a heartbreak. Like if you look at the original post that Alicia put, it was like, my heart is broken and our lives matter. And that heartbreak was so catalyzed. And people were like, yeah, how do we organize ourselves around what we long for and we believe in this moment when everything is telling us we don't matter, but we know we do. How do we move that? And that so many people answered that call, and that they have really tried to hold like, oh, what does decentralization look like? How do we keep adapting to changing conditions? Things that organically emerge from a real desire and a real longing, those are the ones that catalyze the most other people. They're super compelling. Like when you see someone feeling a real emotion, that's what you want to move towards and be like, I want to be a part of this. It's not just getting me to sign my name on a petition. It's not just getting me to be a number in the street. You actually want me to care about my own life and my children's life. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Love hearing from Adrienne Marie Brown every single time. Friends, it is so good to be with you today. We are really grateful to Reverend Shaw for the invitation to join you, and to Louise for crafting and presenting today's service with us, and gratitude as well to the talented musicians and musical talent of Bruce and Barb Martin. Thank you so much. We are grateful to everyone here in this congregation as well who supported UUSC over the years and continues to do so as they can. And First Unitarian, you have our thanks for being part of UUSC's Congregational Accompaniment Program for Asylum Seekers, or CAPAS now. Thank you for all the ways you're living out your Unitarian Universalist values in the world in service to justice. For many of us, these last few years, and this last year especially, seem to be an endless litany of one crisis after another. Climate-forced displacement, assaults on human rights, a deadly global pandemic. As these events and more transition from acute to chronic, we must remember that going back to business as usual is not an option. Not if we seek to live up to the values we espouse and create a world with more justice, a world where everyone's needs are met. This is a world built on love, a liberatory love that creates beloved community, the kind of love that allows us to stay in the struggle until everyone is welcome, everyone is whole, everyone is free. This is what we're being called to now in so many ways, co-creating a beloved community that looks to partners, not saviors, that looks to justice, not the status quo, a community that reaches toward life, not harmful ideology. Dr. Cornel West reminds us that justice is what love looks like in public. And justice is central to the beloved community we are trying to create. Justice, as it is conceived of in much of American society, is often thought of as something separate from us, an impartial system perhaps, or an objective ideal that somehow resides outside of human bonds. In reality, though, relationship is at the core of justice. Justice is co-created between people and between communities. This means that justice is foundational to forming the beloved community. author Rachel Naomi Remen describes justice work as service. She writes, "When you serve, you see life as whole. When we serve in this way, we understand that this person's suffering is also my suffering, that their joy is also my joy. We may help or fix many things in our lives, but when we serve, we are always in service of wholeness." Being in service of wholeness. I love this phrase. And this idea is also found in the words of Australian Indigenous activist Lilla Watson when she says, "If you've come here to help me, you're wasting your time. But if you've come here because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together." Activist and author Adrienne Marie Brown speaks to this when discussing emergent strategy, as she did in the video we just watched. Emergent strategy is the practice of looking to instances of right relationship in the natural and human world and following their example. We see this in the movement for Black lives, where leadership is intentionally diffuse and organic, drawing on the wealth of experience and gifts that are inherent to the community itself. Far from diluting the power of the movement, this model of mutual support, affirmation, and challenge strengthens it. The movement is creative and resilient, having the agility and flexibility to meet the needs of the moment when those needs are growing and changing daily. And these grassroots leadership models also provide the space for the moral imagination necessary today. This mutually supportive, morally grounded, and imaginative community-based leadership exemplified by the movement for Black lives is what Brown points to as the animating force and redemptive power of justice work today. It is the foundation of beloved community. It is life reaching towards life. The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, or UUSC, is also a part of this journey, one that has shifted our work from charity to justice, from depending on a few key leaders to centering grassroots partnerships and leader-full movements. Founded in 1940 in the response to the rise of Nazism in Europe, UUSC began as a mission by a Unitarian minister and his wife, Waitstill and Martha Sharp, who traveled to Prague in order to do what they could to get as many Jews and political dissidents being targeted by the Nazis to safety. As the years went on, the Unitarian Service Committee, which later became the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, expanded its global work, sending aid to places around the world facing humanitarian crisis. Over time, our human rights work began to focus on more systemic justice issues, shifting to a model of partnership with grassroots organizations led by those most affected by injustice. Today, our work focuses on climate-forced displacement, crisis response, and migrant justice. And while these initiatives may seem unrelated at first glance, they are, at their core, all interconnected. These issues are about the right to security within our homes, the right to restore our homes when they've been ravaged by natural or human-made disaster, and the right to seek new homes elsewhere. It is this last right, the human right to migrate, the right to seek asylum, that inspired the UUSC program called the Congregational Accompaniment Project for Asylum Seekers. This collaborative accompaniment program, also known as CAPAS, is a profound way to journey with and shelter people who are somewhere in the US asylum process. Anti-immigration rhetoric, cruel enforcement policies, and the near complete dismantling of the US asylum process has been escalating in recent years. But this is in no way a new phenomenon. A new federal administration does not automatically mean that things will improve for those attempting to migrate to the United States. For instance, in 1994, the US government began implementing an immigration policy they called prevention through deterrence. This policy relies on increasing restrictions at checkpoints and militarizing populated areas along the US-Mexico border. This forces migrants to attempt to travel through inhospitable and often deadly mountainous desert landscape if they wish to enter the United States. approximately 9,000 migrants are believed to have perished through this prevention through deterrence policy since it was implemented in 1994. And this is just one tiny sliver of the ways our country makes it nearly impossible to migrate here safely or legally. Within this context of immigration and justice in our country, many people, both within and beyond migrant communities, have been looking for new ways to change this system. All over the country, neighbors and friends have created networks to accompany migrants to immigration hearings, legal and medical appointments, and check-ins with ICE, which stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They offer emotional care and comfort in times of stress and fear, provide a ride or translation services or advocacy before a judge, meet migrants in transition at bus stations with supplies for their journey, and help them secure housing and work. In all forms, accompaniment is an invitation to witness, to listen, and to show up. It is a practice of being human together in the face of extremely dehumanizing systems and circumstances. For those of us who are not directly targeted by ICE, accompaniment brings us closer to the violence of our immigration and criminal punishment systems, creating opportunities to build relationships with those who are most impacted. As a result, many people who engage in the accompaniment become deeply transformed and grow more committed to disrupting these harmful systems and acting for a more liberated future for all. We are linked together in this work, friends, both because of our shared Unitarian Universalist values and also by your commitment to offer shelter and material aid to our neighbors seeking asylum. Your participation in the CAPAS program is one of the many ways we are partnering together in service of the beloved community. By being in solidarity with and sharing resources with people seeking asylum in this tangible way, you are saying yes to justice, yes to community, yes to that which affirms life. This is one of the countless ways we become beloved community, even as we seek to create it. We each have a role to play in its creation, each of us bringing our broken, growing selves in service to wholeness, recognizing that your liberation is bound up with mine and that no one is free until everyone is free. Beloved community is leaderful, joy-filled, imperfect, challenging, and flexible. It is life reaching towards life. Before we can build the beloved community, we have to be able to imagine it. My colleague Heather will help us do that now.
Thank you, Laura, and good morning, friends. I'm so happy to be here with you all today. In the video that we watched of Adrienne Marie Brown, she says, if we are not also organized towards what we really want and what we long for, we will always settle for just reacting and trying to stop something bad from happening. And I think most of us can resonate with that feeling of always needing to react against something bad. And I bet you can also understand how frustrating and demoralizing that can be. So if we want to do our justice work more effectively and more faithfully, we have to have a vision of the world we want, not just the world we don't want. So as Laura said, that is what I'm gonna work on with you today. We're gonna start imagining what the beloved community actually looks and feels like to each of us. So with that, I invite you into a brief visioning practice. So I ask you to settle your body into a comfortable position. Maybe that means grounding your feet to the floor like the roots of a great oak tree. Maybe that means relaxing your head and letting your chin dip down a bit so that your head, your brain is closer to your heart. Maybe that means leaning your head back as if your head really is in the clouds of imagination, as they say. Maybe it's something completely different. And if you're comfortable doing so, close your eyes or soften your gaze as you take a deep breath in. And as you release that breath, notice your muscles. Are they clenched from worry, as mentioned in Vahavta? Take another deep breath in. And as you release the breath slowly, try to unclench them. Keep breathing. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Now, in this hopefully more relaxed state, imagine that we have made it. We have won. We're in the beloved community. There is no war, no poverty, no borders, no prisons. Bring yourself into that future time when we have arrived and we are together. Notice all your senses that are being activated. They may be different for each of us. Do you see something? Can you hear noises, sounds? Is there a smell? What do you taste? Can you feel something? Who's there with you? What are we doing together? Take a deep breath in as you continue to notice this internal beloved community. Slowly breathe out. As we gently come back to the present, take a moment to notice how your time in the beloved community made you feel. Did something stick with you in particular from that time? A sound, an image? If you're comfortable doing so, let us know in the chat what you experienced so we can start to share our visions as a community. So, my colleague and friend Angela Kelly taught me that practice, and it has a profound impact on not just my mental health and my ability to stay in this work for the long haul, but also how I do the work right now. It's a lot easier being the person I want to be in this world when I'm filled up with peace and possibility rather than frustration and fear. And you see, when I imagine the beloved community, what I experience is a true community meal. Food plays a very large part in my life. I love to feed people, I love trying new foods, and I love to connect with people over meals. This is a general trait of my family. We often return from vacations and spend the first hour of describing said vacation just talking about the food we ate. And as I do this practice, I'm brought back to that place, that community meal, where I know that the food we are sharing tastes like the joy of knowing that no one is hungry. That sparkling taste, as mentioned in the reading earlier. That the laughter I hear sounds like true liberation, a type of laughter that can only be heard when no one is behind bars. And that the people I'm with feel like home because I know everyone else in the world has shelter. Just talking about it now with you all fills me with a sense of peace and brings tears to my eyes. I miss that world, even though I've never physically been there. So when I'm struggling with all the injustices in the world and feeling overwhelmed and like I have to respond to all of them, or feeling like nothing I do can ever make a real difference, I go back to that place. I connect to this touch tone I have of it, which is the sound of clinking forks and knives on plates. I let it wash over me, and I ask myself, what will get me closer to that world? How am I different when I'm in that place? And how can I start living that way in the here and now? What is my work to do? The work that combines my passions and my skills, that gets us all closer to the beloved community. By keeping that vision close at hand, I know that whatever direction I decide to go in, whatever work I do, it will get me to the same place, and that all the trials and tribulations along the way will be more than worth it. So now I ask you, how will you get to your vision of the beloved community as individuals and as a community? We hope that in our time together today, we've inspired your imagination, that you've learned something, and that you will continue to join us in building the beloved community through CAPAS, through other programs. And we're very excited to see how we can continue to practice together, living in the world we long for right now. Amen, and let it be so.
Thank you, Laura and Heather. So we're going to extinguish our chalice with these words. This is The Work We Share by Krista Taves. It is our work shared with each other in covenant that creates and sustains this beloved community. We extinguish this chalice, but its light lives on in the directions we have chosen today. The light of this faith lives on in us together, in our hearts, minds, bodies, and spirits. Our final song this morning is Keep On Moving Forward by Emma's Revolution. The words will be copied in the chat screen.
Gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Sigamos adelante. Siempre adelante, siempre adelante, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna keep on loving boldly, keep on loving boldly, keep on loving boldly, never turning back, never turning back. Amaremos con pasión, siempre con pasión, siempre con pasión, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna reach across our borders, reach across our borders, reach across our borders, never turning back, never turning back. Vivamos sin fronteras, siempre sin fronteras, siempre sin fronteras, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna reunite the family, reunite the family, reunite the family, never turning back, never turning back. Familias reunidas, siempre reunidas, siempre reunidas, sin volver atrás, sin volver atrás. Gonna keep on moving forward, keep on moving forward, keep on moving forward, never turning back, 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 never turning back.
Peace.
We love you.
For our benediction today, I'm happy to be reading the About the Work by Andrea Hawkins Camper. May we see all as it is, and may it all be as we see it. May we be the ones to make it as it should be. For if not us, who? If not now, when? This is answering the cry of justice with the work of peace. This is redeeming the pain of history with the grace of wisdom. This is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we answer now. To be the barrier and the bridge. To be the living embodiment of our principles. To be about the work of building the beloved community. To be a people of intention and a people of conscience.
Laura, I can share that if you'd like. Bear with me. Okay.